Well, hello everyone. Here to show you the PlayStation Portable Price Manager coloring activity right here. As you see right here is I went ahead and drew right here is a picture right here. Is something that maybe you would see in, like you would say, in some type of a video game it is. And if this is like what you call like a coloring that you maybe see in like maybe a game like such as Gears of War, or if any of us have played those games that like you say maybe like Ghost Recon or anything like that, but basically that I have right here is a color idea for like a video game, and knowing about right here is you got the PlayStation Portable device right here, and you have with these it's like you got like here is a left and right arrow it is, and that knowing about it's like right here is that you see right here is like with the game console it's talking about where you can actually play different. You have say music on there, and of course with all these other settings it is, and that knowing about that I could probably tell anybody here that I had this reminds me of the story from if most of us have seen it, it's like for old and still fun it is video that talking about is that something like this would have been something about from years ago that reminds me of knowing about that having gotten something like that. It's like in my own bedroom it was like plug the TV into my bedroom, to plug the TV to a game console such as the Genesis back then, and just knowing about that, and like to have the game, had to have my own TV where I can play my own games it was. But just knowing about whenever I bought this this PlayStation Portable right here, and just knowing about reminds me of the fact about stuff that more likely that I want to play with whenever I was a kid it was, and that knowing about that I still like playing with it, but on the other hand too that knowing about that since I've gotten busy with quite a bit a few other things too, and those few other things are either related to the car, or if they're related to anything else that that I'm doing, say on the computer it is, but anyway, we was talk about with PlayStation Portable here is they have this little portable game device right here, and you have right here is you got the, say, for the Price Manager it is. And with anybody would probably thinking about that back whenever I was young, that would have been about 1993, maybe 1991, something like that. Like $300 more likely was, you consider a lot of money it was. It's like talking about, it's like anybody would probably thinking about, with maybe with with any type of amount of money. It's like 300 Caleb or something like that. It's like 300K for 300,000 or something like that, $3,000, or if it's maybe $2,000 or maybe $200. And if we were to think about that, about knowing about much time it takes just to maybe collect a certain amount of money it is, and knowing about with me that I can remember that whenever I bought the PlayStation Portable, like I said before, that it was about $300 I think for the device. I would say about $250 if I can remember right. That the back at nearly 8.5 years ago, it was about over $200 it was for the unit, and knowing about the amount of money that of course that I had saved up. A lot of people probably think about maybe with their the taxes after they get their tax return in, or if they were to get any type of amount it is. It's like any type of amount savings. It is worth about being able to get something like, say, a PlayStation Portable. It is any type of toy related, and more likely with most parents it is anybody would probably thinking about that a gift to somebody, that knowing about that if they besides anybody would probably think about, besides maybe a pool table, anybody would probably think about if I had $300 or something like that to spend, then more likely they will probably go to maybe buying a pool table or anything like that, to be able to play with, say, around the house it is. And then knowing about that, anybody will be thinking about that. Well, more likely I would say that a pool table, but really, With the pool table, though, that people probably think about that, yeah, a pool table related to anything like a portable screen, and then of course, portable music where you can maybe insert a memory stick where you watch, music. It is, and of course with the portable, it's like between the pool table and then the portable. It is. They have these other, features right here where you can actually, get on the web. It is, but. Anyway, that anybody would probably think about that. Yeah, I don't want any type of device where you have to push a few buttons. It is, and just to figure it out exactly. But on the attitude that knowing about anybody would probably thinking about if we do the math. If we were to do the math, it's like talking about. It's like if we were say 20%. 20% is how much you would probably cost just to save up for one of these, and some people probably thinking about save up for one of these bad boys, because anybody who probably thinking about any type of bad boy it is knowing about that lucky one, or whatever you want to pronounce it, is that if you want to save up for something such as like a little handheld game console, it is maybe an old Sega Game Gear or anything like that. You got right here is like with the portable. And anybody who probably thinking about that whenever I was young, that $300 of course was quite a bit of money, hard to save it was, and with about anybody we're probably thinking about it is quite a bit of money still nowadays to save, and a lot of times it's like, but with $300, I'm like you're talking about by about $300 or $400 down, more likely is about would be enough for like maybe a down payment on a car. It is, and knowing about it's like the types of things that you could probably thinking about. It's like knowing about that from so far as the long road ahead it is, and knowing about with the long road ahead that we were probably thinking about with the long road ahead. Go ahead and draw like what you call it's like a road beginning point right here. And we were probably thinking about that, that you got right here is the road right here. They got the helicopter right there, but of course you got right here is the road. And let's just say if there was a few gates, if you had to cross a few gates, and with these gates right here, that there would be like what you call it's like, well, it's your money has to go to this now, it has to go to that now. You can't. Before you can cross this road, this gate, it is that you have to take care of something and then go ahead and start back up again with your savings. It is. Anybody would probably think about with $300, that's quite a bit of money. But then, of course, on the other hand, too, that knowing about, I keep thinking about, really, if you were to say that save up at least 1 cent, 1 penny it is, and that knowing about with 1 penny. Really, with 1 cent, I mean, what can you buy nowadays with only 1 cent? I was like, you can't even buy, you can't even buy a candy bar with that. Maybe people probably thinking about maybe with a bot, or maybe with with 10 centennial, or maybe with 10 yen, whatever it is. It's like any money from another country, but we're talking about money such as a quarter or a dime or a nickel that we could probably thinking about that anything related to maybe 5 cents or anything like that, and a lot of times people probably thinking about well, if I had 5 cents, let's just say if I could save up 5 cents, then more likely it would probably have to go to what I need compared to what I want, and with anybody who probably thinking about if we were to, I used to have a coin bank. It was that was in a bucket. I can remember that whenever I would spend some money and then get some change back, a lot of times I would put it into a coin. It was into a coin cubby. It was, and then every time I would hear T T T, it's like. Every time, each coin that would go into that cupboard of mine, that I guess you call it is a cupboard. It's like a canned cupboard. It is. Each time a coin will go in there, that more likely that it would cause the rates, of course, to the amount of change that you save up, to go up. It is. Anybody will probably thinking about that. And if you could save up maybe 10 or 20,000 pennies, it is that I guess it 10 or 20,000 pennies, that more likely that with 20,000 pennies, you multiply that, it's like you times if you do the math right, I think it's about $110, I think it is. Say if we were to do the math right, about 105, maybe $110. I am not a math expert, but more likely, if we were to do the math right, between like subtraction, it is knowing about with like what you call, anybody will probably thinking about, about 250, between 250 and more likely probably thinking about about how much you'll probably be paying for cable service, or if we have anything such as say maybe Rabbit TV, or any other internet TV is, talk about between 150 and of course 150 and of course with $50. A lot of people probably thinking about that. Yeah, with $50 back in 1994, it was 93, 94, maybe 1991. It's like heck, like that. Yeah. Where am I going to get that kind of money from? But on your hand, to knowing about, we could probably thinking about that yeah, why am I actually talking about this? Maybe like I explained before, like on my other, video activities I have done. Why am I explaining this? Maybe talking about the PlayStation Portable. And the way I think about it, I'm like, back whenever I was young, that I could tell anybody here that something like this was what I would like to have, is say for a birthday present. It's like that I would like to have a PlayStation Portable, and of course maybe that I would like to maybe back then I can still remember that of course I want to go bowling those couple times on my birthday. But anyway, that whatever amount of money that of course that you save up, I could still remember that the $100, of course, I used to think that $100 was hard to save up, even $50. $50, and I used to always think, of course, that people probably think about, if anybody finds out that you have $50 around the house, it is saved up in the closet, wherever it is, maybe in your drawers, especially in your drawers, that more likely that somebody's going to say that hey, that they may ask, maybe to borrow it, in case unless if they had to borrow it, or if anything that they probably think about that yeah, what are you gonna do with that kind of money? What are you gonna do with that amount of money? It is. And anybody probably think about it, any kids who are gonna be maybe the age of 5 or 10 years old, if they find out that you have a good amount of money saved up around the house, it may be somewhere, that more likely you're going to ask them, what are you going to do with that kind of money? It is. More likely the answer could be, it's like that, yeah, I'm going to go out and buy myself, say, a television set or anything like that, and or maybe an iPod, or anything like electronic, say a coloring book, or maybe spend it on anything related to maybe a watch. If they want to go out and buy an expensive watch. I know nowadays that they say that you have to be 18 or older, to be able to order a lot of stuff you see through the catalogs, and of course online, and then of course over the TV also. But no one with PlayStation Portable is that this little handheld game console, and of course anybody will probably think about it, it's an old system, it is, but it looks almost new, from just like whenever I bought it out of the box it was. And I would probably tell anybody that yeah, that spend time on it, because there's a lot of things that I have around here, of course, that I've had for a long time, and knowing about it, that yeah, the warranty's probably expired on it, but I could probably tell anybody that as long as it still works, that more likely I'm gonna go ahead and plug it in and play with it for a while. And more likely anybody will probably think about that that's old school stuff, where you need to get upgraded to the new the Vita, or anything like the PlayStation 4 Consent 2 or something like that, the Consulate or anything like that, maybe the Consulate, or if that they whatever new stuff that they're going to have by Sony PlayStation. But on here into the knowing about the ideas I went ahead and drew right here, anybody will probably thinking about that yeah, the ideas I went ahead and drew some men, man or woman, right here. It's like right here is that a type of game that more likely, if anybody will probably be like that yeah, is this like what you calls like maybe a scene from like what you calls like maybe a Gears of War or Medal of Honor game, or if it's just like something that more likely I made up. It was. And if anybody would probably say, wonder about that, yeah, if you want to leave me a comment later on, it's like talking about, it's like what you think it would probably be, but on the other hand too, that knowing about is like anybody probably think about, any answers that more likely I may have. It's like, well, as of right now, we can just think about that, the fact about, for what we spend our money on, just to think about that, if you're going to use it, or the fact about, that if you're just going to think about that, after about maybe a year or two after you bought it, that you're going to go ahead and go out and buy something new it is. And we could probably think about that, no matter if it's new or old, that we could probably think about that, about how much money it cost, just of course to come to that point of the road to where that yeah, that knowing about from the things that we had back then, of course, anybody probably thinking about it's like Army men it is, and knowing about with like a little handheld game system it is. And we could probably think about what they used to back in the old days. It was back in early 1991. I'm like that. Yeah, I remember people up there at the school, and we used to talk a lot about games and computer games and stuff like that. And then knowing about that yeah, if I would have probably say anybody, I would probably tell anybody here that if it's possible that if they had like a PlayStation Portable back then, that I don't know, my parents would probably get mad if I would have brought something like that for school for show and tell to show the students there, and more likely that the teacher would probably say that we are not responsible for if it gets lost or stolen it is, because I know for sure that they have it, and nowadays in the schools that they got the policies about that I remember a couple times, I think once or twice, yeah, whenever I was in high school, that I would bring money to school, and a lot of times it's like that they would suggest put that away, Matt, don't show it, and don't show it in front of all the other students it is. But on the other too, that knowing about the ideas right here is, you got right here is the trees, and we had some details right here for the trees. But anyway, that the amount of money that, of course, that we could save up to, and a lot of people probably thinking about that yeah, that $300 nowadays may not be a lot of money, but of course it's like something that you work hard for, and just knowing about that even though if it's something that's very old, but more likely you probably think about it, still works, and knowing about that, I'm sure that you could still have fun with it, no matter if it's an old product or not, and knowing about that it's like to take care of it, and knowing about that. People probably thinking about that, after you buy it and then the warranty's expired on it, and then knowing about that, that you still, that more likely if the warranty's expired, then they may suggest that to more likely maybe buy a used console, or if it's anything related to anything that maybe working out where they can pay up, say your deductible, is pay like what you call a premium balance, for what it costs, just to get it fixed is. But we could, think about that, about almost every day now, that between $300 and maybe $500 it is, about how long it takes for you to save up for something, and knowing about what you want to do with the money after you save it up. But knowing about people probably thinking about that that they want to maybe buy something, such as a PlayStation Portable, or what you call is like but Petroleum, maybe the Petroleum screen it is, Petroleum screen, maybe the big screen TV made by PlayStation. Anybody probably thinking about, big screen. We're talking about big screen, and like PlayStation Portable, like a little handheld like this, but anybody probably thinking about with the big screen it is, like the PlayStation big screen, Petroleum it is, and we could probably think about that, like how big of a screen are we talking about? Maybe 65 inch or maybe 70 inch it is, and knowing about anybody probably thinking about, if they had $300 to go out and buy one of those things, and really, nobody really wants a portable, they want a big screen, they want a big screen. I wonder what this game looks like, if they would be playing a game like this right there. I wonder what it looks like. I wonder what the game looks like on the big screen, because you probably think about, if they would be playing like, any type of game, maybe GTA or maybe any type of racing game it is, and just knowing about what does it look like on like an actual big screen it is. And the way I think about it, especially 3D, whatever, whichever it is, and more likely anybody will probably thinking about that more likely we'll find out maybe if we can figure out the math right. It's like, do the math. And then, of course, it's like people say, keep your fingers crossed, but on hand too, that knowing about the whole part about it, say with the price manager. It's like, is it called, you say, paying your dues, or is it the fact about knowing about, is the study for, say, how it works and so forth to be rewarded for. But other than that, let's talk about the PlayStation Portable Price Manager coloring activity.